we have the honor of Reverend Douglas Craig, who is speaking on There Are No Obstructions to the Operation of Truth. Now, Reverend Doug has been with Science of Mind for many, many years, and he has many beautiful stories of growth and expansion. So it should be a beautiful talk. Thank you.
Okay, woo! Okay, geez.
Just excuse me, one more thing. I forgot. There are some cards here still, so that if you would like to put somebody's name on there to have prayers over, they write them on here, and then they will be put around the candle here, and they will be prayed and treated over when we sing our songs after service, at the end of service. Thank you. Would anybody like me to give them one right now? Okay, I will come around.
And while you're doing that, I'll get started. Good morning, everyone. And how are we doing this morning? Well, it's a lovely spring day, isn't it? Lots of excitement. It's a time of rebirth and renewal. So let's start by just taking a moment to go within and still our minds and still our bodies and take a moment to reflect. And that means being willing to release everything except now. The future will take care of itself when you arrive. That's after the service. And the past is no longer relevant because it's gone. So the point of power is always in the present moment. And in this present moment, we recognize that eternally there is only this one source in many different forms and many different ways and expression, but only the one. And individually and collectively, we are expressions of this source, doing life in our own unique, special way. And so we gather here today to gain maybe some wisdom and understanding about moving forward and about the power of operating in truth and creating an open and clear and free-flowing channel of the source's wisdom, kindness, and prosperity. And that is what we want, and that is what we're open for. And there are many ways of purifying the channel. And so we're going to examine that. So what I'd like you to do right now is just to take a few moments of reflection and think about anything that you have in your experience, not outside but inside, with respect to anything outside, that you want to let go of or release. Something that's been there a long time. And to know and recognize that you may have done work on this releasing before, but it's still there, visiting. And to know that releasing is mental and emotional. And the mental is easy, but the emotional takes time. So just get real clear on what it is you'd like to let go of and release, and take a few moments with it. So declare to yourself, I'm ready to let go today, right here and right now. And with that, accept that it is now done, and we move forward into experiencing deeper ways of understanding and releasing. And so with that declared and accepted, we give thanks And we let it be so, and so it is. And so the topic today are there no obstructions to the operation of truth? And the truth is, there aren't when you're a baby. You ever seen a baby that had any obstructions? They know exactly what they're doing at all times and in every way, if you didn't realize that. But it takes a long time before we become screwed up. And now, with the wisdom and guidance, we're spending a lot of the rest part of our lives unscrewing that and getting back to that clear channel so we can be divinely guided and inspired and directed at all times and in all situations. It's there. So when we can learn to listen to that and not to that other chatter, then we get forward and move forward in a greater capacity. But you know, one of the things about releasing and stuff like that, it just isn't all necessary bad things you got to release. Sometimes you got to release a lot of good things. So for example, I spent 27 days recently in Hawaii, and it was wonderful. The bad cold day was 20 and the hot day was 29. The 20, the locals had their hoodies on. It was cold, it's winter. And then the sun was out. The clouds were out. Sometimes the wind blew. The rain come. Everything. And the temperature didn't change. It didn't change. And I had a very difficult time with that mentally. Oh, look at this. I better get something. I'm not going to be able to dress with my muscle shirt and shorts on today. Look at the clouds and the wind. Go out, go back and change again because it's just not like what it looks like. But the mind, you see, is conditioned. Don't you know when it's windy, it's going to be colder? Anybody, we all know that, don't we? It's all going to be cold, especially when it's winter. So, you know, it's not necessarily the negative things that block our channel from experiencing. I had to get over that so I could experience Hawaii. And then the first of the Kona storms come, and I'm out there wondering, you know, other than the flooding, what's the big deal? This is like walking in the wind in Exshaw when I grew up, you know. So it's really interesting about that. That was quite a revelation for me about the positive things. Huh? But let's get into this now. And the first one I want to talk about is one of my favorites. It's the first thing I really come to realize when I got into this, that we are prisoners of our own mind. Until you get it, Gail. But you're doing okay. You got a few more years to try it. Yeah. And you see, the prison is, as in Lovelace said in his poem that he wrote from prison, to Althea from prison. By the way, nobody knows who she is, so don't think it's a romance thing. And anyhow, he was in prison because he was part of the clergy and they were going against the act in England to get clergy out of Parliament to separate religion and government. That's basically what it was. So they stuck him in there. And he wrote a poem. And the end of the poem was probably the part of his most famous quote that everybody uses. And this is from prison. "Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Minds innocent and quiet take that for a hermitage. If I have freedom in my love, and in my soul I'm free, angels alone soar above, enjoy such liberty." Okay? Many famous people come to their mark in prison. Him, St. John of the Cross that wrote The Dark Night of the Soul. Another man that was known as the man of peace, Anwar Sadat, when he was in prison. And probably the most famous, we all know, 25 years in prison, And he handled it so well, when he got out, they elected him leader of the country, Nelson Mandela. Now, I'm not recommending that you go to prison to get inspired. You don't have to do it that way. Not all of us need to do extremes. You don't have to do it Doug's way, neither. Be gentle with yourself, okay? But the point of the being is, that's what it is. And it's our negative belief system about ourselves. Once we could purge and purify that negative belief system, then the channel purifies, and there's not as many obstructions to receiving information and processing what's the guidance from Spirit and what's garbage. Because you know they both flow in the same channel. Unfortunately, if we have negativity in our belief system, it latches onto the garbage and it can take on a life of its own. You all know that. You know, and we're prisoners because as a child, we have all these factors influencing our negative beliefs and actions. Our parental figures, or lack of, our overall family, our environment, our close friendships, and our DNA. Yes, folks, I have absolute proof of this in my experience in life and my family, how the DNA passes down and the people arrive with that. You got all of that to deal with, but you're still pure. But all of that is going to have a play on what happens in life and how it unfolds. It's not a question about it, folks. Not a question at all. The only question is coming to awareness and learning to manage it. And if you think, well, I'll take a program like the Transformation Guide, which is coming to Red Deer soon, and that'll fix it. No, you're going to be doing it the rest of your life. Oh, I don't know whether I want to do that. Then enjoy what you got, because that's all it's going to be. But the exciting part is all the stuff that you can create and the things that you can be and the things that you can do and things you never dreamed of. But it takes that commitment to self. You want to be a better parent, a better grandparent? Be a better self. That's the greatest gift you can give, is yourself. And I made that commitment a long time ago when I was a bad boy and turned around. I said, I'm not going to tell my kids or my grandkids or any of them or any kids what to do or what not to do. And I've done really well with that. I just explained to them what can happen because of their choices if they're going that way, from my personal experience. Okay? So, we all want to move forward, and part of it, the big part, is just understanding ourselves and being willing to let go of those things we cherish. You know, the ones you're going to hang on to. The dirty dog, he did that to me, and no matter what. Okay? And the key when you're doing your own work and you're moving forward, the most important thing is to remember that no matter what, little or small, every day, you always, always, always get to be right. Always. Oh, they say, well, that's not true. I like to be wrong sometimes. You like to be right about being wrong, don't you? So it's never a question about you being right. Get that off. If somebody tells you you're not right, doesn't matter what they say. You are right for what you believe, and that's it. The only question one has to ask is, what do I want to be right about? What do I want to be right about? Ask that and then make a choice. And so in the Transformation Guide, we teach 3 things in order to put all of this into action. And I call it the 3 no's. 1 is no justifying. You don't have to justify anything. I can't justify how I feel. Hell, I don't know why I feel that way sometimes myself. Do you know how you feel, why they feel that way? No. But it's open for discussion. and no blaming. Well, you don't understand. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything. They went through a stop sign and hit me. Yeah, that's right. We're not talking about that. Don't blame them, because keep in mind you did show up for the experience. Okay, don't blame. Blaming is giving away your personal power to a person or a condition or a circumstance or a government. Oh, don't go there. We don't talk about that on Sundays. But I think you get the good idea. And then the most important thing when you're doing your work and trying to be reasonable and moving beyond, no attachment to outcomes. If you give somebody something, they throw it in the garbage and you get upset, that's because you didn't give it. You had an attachment to the outcome. It don't matter when you give somebody a gift what they do with it. It's none of your business. Your business is in the giving. That's it. What they do with it, they got the problem if they're throwing it away in that, not you. Okay, are you ready for this one? You ready, Gail? Give yourself a spiritual enema. It really helps in getting out what no longer serves you. I think you were saying it. Truth is the way. Your reward is sweet release. Well, it might not be sweet, but you get rid of that with the spiritual enema. Have you ever really got rid of something that was really bothering you and just felt so good? That's the spiritual enema, the release. And you got to do the spiritual work to get the spiritual enema. You can't go get a gizmo and do it the easy, quick way. It don't work like that when you're dealing with purging and getting rid of all that negative stuff. Okay? And so keep in mind, too, when you're moving ahead and you're willing to do all of this stuff, you can't have a breakthrough until you have a breakdown. It don't work that way. Nothing works that way, because the old has to be broken down. You know what it's like letting go of a bad habit? Anybody had a problem with that? You have to have a breakdown, get rid of that, to have a breakthrough and move to the other side. Imagine the caterpillar going in there that didn't do that in the cocoon, and the butterfly trying to come out with a caterpillar's bum and fly. It just don't work that way. At least not anywhere I've seen it. So if you're going to change and have a breakthrough, you have to break down the old, be prepared to let everything go, and step into the new, and whatever you can take with you to benefit you will automatically be given to you. You don't have to choose. That's how it works when you're in deep and committed to the process. Easy to talk about, eh? Oh gosh, I like talking about it. Don't ask me how I do with the doing sometimes. And then we got to walk with the faith of the source. I call it the source. Could be God, could be Allah, could be Krishna, could be, as Red Skeleton calls it, Oobly-Gook, don't matter, just a name. But the trick here is walking with faith. Now you say, well, what about fear? Anybody had afraid? Well, fear is always there. Always. I just did my documentary and asked one of my best buddies for the last 45 years if they ever seen Doug Afraid. So I've been in a lot of tacky situations. The answer is no. She asked me, you ever been afraid, Doug? I said, all the time. Well, your friend said he's never seen you afraid. I thought, I didn't say I acted out on fear. If you don't have fear, you got a problem. You just got to learn how to park it. You can pick it up and deal with it later. Step into the experience with faith, because faith can't guide you when fear's there. You know, fear knocked at the door, faith answered, there was no one there. Clear? And it's always that, check your mind every day, every thought. You're not on the fence, you're either in faith or fear. One of the two. Really interesting. And this is my favorite one. It cost me 3 textbooks hitting the wall over about 25 years. 282 and 283 of the textbook, my favorite. Ernest Holmes said, declare and affirm, stay with the one and never deviate from it. Never leave it for a moment. Nothing else can equal this attitude. To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we don't know the truth. Oh. I hated that because I always thought I knew what I was doing. I hated that. Wham against the wall. I kept going back to it. I finally got it. When things look the worst, that is the supreme moment to demonstrate to ourselves that there are no obstructions to the operation of truth. When things look the worst, that is the best time to work, the most satisfying time. The person who could throw himself with complete abandon into that limitless sea of receptivity, having cut loose all moorings, apparent moorings, is the one who will always have the greatest rewards. Okay? Get that and put it on your wall and look at it, because that's where it's at. No matter what it is, that's what we got to do, and it'll give us a way out of it and help us. And I come across this, and I'm going to close with this. And I call it, what happens if we avoid clearing the channel and we get it all cluttered? Well, then we stay in a constant state of misery and no hope. Anybody been there for a while with misery and no hope at times? Yeah? And that's just a choice, by the way. So, think about this. For every minute I remain angry, I give up 60 seconds of joy. For every minute I remain scared, I give up 60 seconds of confidence. For every minute I hate, I give up 60 seconds of love. For every minute I remain in the past, I lose 60 seconds of the present. Every minute I focus on the problem, I lose 60 seconds of finding the solution. For every minute I focus on lack, I lose 60 seconds of finding my abundance. For every minute I focus on confusion, I lose 60 seconds of peace. For every minute I think that I'm alone, I lose 60 seconds of being with God. And for every minute I can't have missed 60 seconds of knowing that I can't. So think about that. That is a really good way to looking at the can'ts or the obstructions and what the price is that we give up by focusing on that rather than the other side. I'll make this available. You can see Reverend Vera if you're interested in it. So I know for each one here, as I know for myself, that there's an openness and a receptivity to looking at our journey in a new and different way and making decisions in a different way that is based on moving forward and solution, because it doesn't really matter. That's the way we're going. So I know that is given to us, and we accept it and put it into action, and we give thanks, and so it is. And so it is. Whee!